Welcome to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. This is a podcast for faithful women who want healing in their relationships, guidance from God, and internal peace. Each week, you'll hear mental health concepts taught through a spiritual lens from me, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, to help you start thinking in a higher and holier way. All right, I am so excited to welcome a special guest to the episode. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I followed you for a long time. I love everything that you do, and I'm excited to introduce you to my audience because you do some amazing things for women.
Oh, nice.
So tell the people a little bit about you, maybe your family, what you do. Like, how do you help people on the internet?
Yes. Okay. I'm here for it. So, my name is Rachel Coons. I'm a wife, mom of four. We live in Northern California. And gosh, how far back do we want to go? Obviously,
As
the
far as you
story,
want.
yeah, the story is a long one. But basically, when I was a young mom, I left the workforce to stay home with my children once I had our first baby. I had this idea that I would be the stay-at-home mom. My husband would then go get the job, make the money, and he would deal with the finances. And that worked for me for a long time until I had my fourth baby. And right after I had my fourth baby, I felt this call to something more, where I felt like we were in debt. We had all these financial goals that we wanted to hit, and I felt like disempowered. I felt like there was nothing I could do about our financial situation without like going out and getting a job. I felt like, if in order for us to have more money, I needed to go make more money.
Right.
And but it wasn't until I realized like, oh, maybe I could do more with the money that was coming in because my husband had a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And so I got really intentional about where is our money going every month? Tracking the spending, looking at our budgets. But to be honest, budgeting felt really overwhelming as
Yeah.
a young mom of
Yes.
four kids, like, having to sit down and look at the numbers and run the spreadsheets and try to like scrimp and save in certain areas. Like that just really was just, I had so much resistance for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But when I did look at our spending in our different categories, I realized that our grocery spending was one of our highest budgets every single month. It
Yeah.
was like our third highest budget after rent and health insurance was grocery spending.
Yeah.
And it was the one area in my budget that I was like, I actually think I can do something about that.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was not a lot of budgets that were like, I could drastically decrease. We were pretty frugal when it comes to like family expenses and things like that. So we were spending $1,200 a month for my family of six. This was in 2020, right? So now
Yeah.
it'd probably be way more than that. But
Yeah.
$1,200 a month, that literally felt like it was flying out of our bank account, like every single month without me
Yeah.
feeling like I was even going crazy at the grocery store or doing anything, reckless with the
Yeah.
spending. So that was the one I was like, I'm just going to hone in on this one budget. And everything changed from that decision. Within a couple months, I had decreased our grocery spending by $500 every single month. And what I realized was that I had created a system that actually worked and it helped me save every single month. And so I started to share it online.
Yeah.
And by doing that, the snowball effect, it kind of caught fire, especially with inflation. Everybody feels like, oh, groceries are so expensive. I hate how much I spend on groceries. But no
Hmm.
one no one knows how to spend less, especially if you have dietary restrictions or health needs, or you don't feel like you're going to the grocery store every day and spending $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that just kind of snowballed, and we can kind of talk more about
Yeah.
my journey, but that's kind of my story. That was what led me to here, where
Yeah.
now what we do is I just help moms with money, right? We
I love
start
it.
with grocery spending because I really believe that that's the fastest and easiest way to find some extra money, but there's so much more to money than just grocery savings.
Yeah.
And I run an online community where we dive into the deep transformational work that happens when a mom shows up differently for her finances.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And I was telling Rachel before we started, I was like, I wanted to have you on one because, you have awesome ideas. And I think it's so helpful for women, especially women who are home and want to add to their finances and be able to do that, and not have to go get a degree or, find daycare for their kids. But also, I really feel like people, especially women, put their mental health on the back burner
Absolutely.
because they feel like when they spend money financially on their own mental health, they're taking away from their kids in some way, right? Or other people that they love and care about. But what they don't realize is that they are like they're pouring from an empty bucket into their kids, right? Like they're feeling that depleted person. And so I just want to empower women to feel like they financially can contribute to their mental health, right? That there are ways to do that. And so I was excited to have Rachel on and come talk about that. So she's going to talk about 3 ways that you guys can make a difference with your family's finances from home and really change that budget and what that looks like. So
Yeah.
let's dive into that. What's your first tip for people to really make a
Okay,
change?
first, can I just go back to what you're saying? Because I do
For
want to touch
sure.
on that before we jump to the 3 tips, because I think
Yeah.
this is a really important topic. And we should probably just do a whole nother podcast episode
Right.
on this with mental health and specifically when it comes to money
Yeah.
and our relationship with money and how we experience money. Money impacts so much of our day-to-day world and mental health.
For
And
sure.
how we perceive spending it on ourselves, self-care, or how we perceive what happens with our partner in that experience. Like, just know that if you're someone who is struggling with mental health and there's a money stress as well, like you're not alone and there are
Yeah.
so many people that are dealing with that same stress. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
What you said is so beautiful that you
Yeah.
should never feel guilty about taking care of yourself
Hmm.
and taking care of your money situation. And that's
Yeah.
why we're talking about what we're talking about because it's so much deeper than just saving $600 a month, right?
Right.
So much deeper than feeling like you have extra money. It's the deeper mental health that comes from what we're doing. So, anyway,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was perfect. Thank you. Yes, we should do a whole nother episode on that because it's so true. It
yeah.
is so true. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So
so
yeah, let's dive in.
let's get into the 3 tips. Okay, so the first tip, obviously, and with my whole story, I talked about it before, is really focusing on your grocery spending is probably the easiest and fastest way to find extra money at the end of the month,
Right.
right? If you're struggling, if you're in debt, if you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, those types of things, you could go out and budgeting is such a powerful tool to be able to, control your money better and make sure there's extra money and wiggle room in certain budgets. But hyper focusing on your grocery spending, I think, is one of the fastest ways to do it. And the magical thing about what I share, and it's almost like people don't even believe that it's possible. Like what I suggest you can spend and the system that I use, the method that I use, is that you're also going to save time and energy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
shopping, planning, feeding your family takes so much time, so
Hmm.
much energy, right? As a mom, we're probably most of your listeners are some
Yep. Yep.
always have a family with kids.
Yeah.
Like, we're spending hours every day in the kitchen. We're
Yeah.
spending hours every week going to the grocery store, planning the meals, cooking the meals, feeding the
Mhm.
meals, cleaning up after.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yes.
a huge burden that we
It
just
is.
don't even talk about.
It really is.
So why are we doing it the way that we're doing it? If it feels like too much, there's got to be a better way.
Hmm.
And so that's when I created this system, when I created the method, that's what I realized for myself. And then I was like, okay, let's go see if it works for other people as well.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, this has worked now for over 20,000 families. It's got to
Yeah.
work, right?
Yes.
So the number one thing I would say to start with is just, again, I don't want to overwhelm people because we're
Yeah.
all busy, we're all overwhelmed.
Right.
The first thing you can do is just start tracking your spending. Just start noticing
Mm.
what you're spending on groceries because this is the one thing that I think people feel like with their grocery spending, it's a necessary expense. This
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
need budget. I
Hmm.
have to buy food for my family. I have to feed my children. I have to buy food. But do you have to spend as much as you're spending?
Yeah.
And so how many times do we go to the grocery store, we put the things in our cart, we go to the checkout, we just swipe the credit card without even really thinking anything of
Mhm.
it.
Like, I just have to do it because I
Yeah,
have to.
we do.
Yeah.
And I am here shouting from the rooftops as loud as I possibly can. No, you don't have to spend what you're spending on groceries
Right.
every month.
Yeah.
Let's just start noticing. Just start seeing the patterns. Just start noticing, okay, when I ask people how much are you normally spending on groceries, most people I would say don't know or they estimate and then they go track and they're like, wait, it's way more than I thought it was.
Right.
So just bringing awareness to the problem can
Hmm.
absolutely help. So first,
I love
start
that.
tracking your spending,
And
bringing awareness.
that's so much in line with what I talk about with mental health too. I'm like, this first step with anything in your mental health is awareness. Like
Yes.
you cannot change anything in your life unless you become aware of the problem.
Mhm.
Right. And we kind of like want to blame other people or just say it's out of my control or, it just is the way it is and there's no changing it. Right. But when we can bring awareness to what and really dig down to what's happening, we can make change. And that awareness is huge because sometimes we might think, I'm really not spending that much, right, on groceries, or I'm not
Right.
like, how does that really add up? Like, you think you don't really add all those things up or all the different areas that you might be spending groceries in and realize, wow, that is a huge chunk. Like you said, $1,200. And
Mhm.
I love all of your things you post, like people saying, like, I saved $800 this month. We're
Mhm.
not talking like 20 bucks, you guys. We're talking like hundreds of dollars that we're
Yeah.
saving in our budget, in our grocery budgets by doing this method. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay. I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
it's so cool because it's like residual money. This is not like, oh, I saved $100, the $800 in 1 month. No, it's like every single month, which
Yeah.
compounds, that adds up. We're talking thousands of dollars a year. So when a mom is feeling like they're not helping financially, but then I say, hey, wait, you could bring in $8,000 this year without doing anything extra.
Yeah.
That
By
sounds
doing
pretty
less,
awesome.
by doing
Yeah,
less.
yeah. Let's do less. Let's
Yes.
do less. Yeah, so that's why I'm so passionate about what I do is because I see
Yeah.
the change that it brings.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so tip number two, what I would say is, well, we're going to go a little deeper into the grocery
Okay.
sales,
Okay.
right? We're tracking the spending, we're making sure we know how much we're spending. The second thing to that is, I would say, is you need to have a plan. So now, if we bring awareness to something, we know what's going on, we know if there is a problem or not, and then we need to replace that with some type of plan to spend less, right?
Yeah.
So what does that plan look like? I have a whole method. I call it the shop method, and it's way too much to go into right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. For
But
sure.
one
Yeah.
of those things that is so big in this is you need to have a spending plan. So you need to know how much you should be spending every month. Like, this is just putting a target in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Have something to aim for. Okay, this is what I should maybe be spending on groceries. It's going to change depending on where you live, how big your family is, whether you have
Mhm.
dietary needs or whatever that is. But then you also need to have a shopping plan so that when you go to the grocery store, again, we're not just willy-nilly throwing things in the grocery cart. Like,
Yeah.
it's on sale, we're at the shopping hungry, whatever that looks
Yep. Yep. Yep.
like. So you need to have a shopping plan of like, okay, what does that structure look like? So we're bringing structure to the chaos.
Yeah.
And then we also need to make sure that we have some type of structure when it comes to our meals of like, what food is my family going to want to eat for the next week? So that way we're not constantly going back to the grocery store and getting more food. And we call this, everybody hates this word, but we call it meal planning, but it
Right.
might not look exactly like what you think.
Yeah.
So having a spending plan, having a shopping plan, having a meal plan can really bring systems to what you're doing right now, and
I love that.
you can follow it, exactly.
I like that. I really like the thing that's really helped me too that you've talked about is like my worst thing about dinner time is figuring out what's for dinner. I was like, if you just told me what you would eat, kids, I would make it for you. I don't care what it is, but I don't want to make a meal. And everyone's like, I don't want to eat that. Or nobody shows up to dinner. Everyone's out doing something. And so I'm like, if I just figured it out. And when you talked about like, don't plan a meal for 7 nights a week,
Yeah.
that is very wasteful to do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I think you said four. Like in my head, this is what I do as I
Yeah.
plan for a meal for 4 days a week.
Yep.
And that's so helpful to me. Like you have leftovers for one night, you might eat out another night, right? Like that. And usually one night it's an on your own night is what we call it.
Yes. Yeah. A
Like
yo-yo,
just,
yo-yo night.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. And you guys do what you want there, but really it has helped my mind. Like, and I just think of those four things that we're going to make this week. And I usually, the other thing I love that you do is like, pick out things that you already have in your fridge,
Yeah.
right? Like start
Yeah.
planning from there, start planning from things. And so I just go in there and I look at those things, I pick out my 4 meals, and then I put just the things that I would need to make that
Yeah.
on my grocery list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just the other things, like what are we going to need for some breakfasts or some lunches? What are the minor things that we might need for that? Put it on there. And I spend significantly less with that plan in mind.
Totally. You
Yeah.
do. You do.
Yeah. Because you're not
It-
just walking around trying to think of 7 meals that you're not going to eat and it's going to go bad.
yeah. Well, the average American family wastes 30% of the food that they buy.
That's
That's
crazy.
so much money that's going in
Yeah.
trash, right? So a lot of the times I see when people are like, well, I don't know how to spend any less. And then we start to really dissect what they're meal planning. They're overbuying. They're buying
Yeah.
much, or they're just buying foods that they're not going to use and that is going to end up in the trash. So
Yep.
I find that when I meal plan, less is more when it comes to meal planning. And that's
Yeah.
another way to combat the overwhelm, right? Because everyone, when you talk about meal planning, they're like, I don't want to do that.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
so much work. I have to think,
Hmm.
and it's like, no, wait, just pick 4 meals. That's really easy. Off the top of your head, you could probably think of 4 meals right now that
Yep.
your family would enjoy that you
Yep.
could grab the ingredients for. So it really helps make meal planning feel more doable. And in
Yeah.
turn, like I said, we're saving time, energy, but in turn, you're also going to save money doing that because you're
Yeah.
not going to have the food waste. You're not going to have the excess food that who really cooks 7 nights a week, brand new.
Nobody.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, if you do, hats
Yeah.
off to you. I'm really
Hats
impressed by
off.
you. But like,
Exactly.
and this is a marathon, not a sprint. I am not cooking 7 nights a week. It's not happening
Exactly.
in my household.
Exactly. Exactly.
That
Yeah.
helped.
I love that. I love that. We live in the middle of nowhere. Like the closest Walmart's an hour and a half. The closest
Wow.
Costco's 5 hours. So like we gotta like our grocery store is expensive. Like it's a little
Hmm.
market. And so I have to plan like kind of a month ahead and really
Yeah.
think about and have on hand those things that we frequently eat. And so shopping from my shelf is a little bit easier because I always have on hand some of those things
Yeah.
that my family frequently eats. But I think that could work too if you're in a big town and you have
Yeah.
access to a grocery store. Like
Yeah.
going to the grocery store less is just really a good idea in
You're going to
general because
save
how
a
much
lot
more
of
do we throw in our
time.
cart?
Yeah, and a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, I live literally, I could get to a grocery store in 2 minutes from my house. And
Yeah.
I don't go to the grocery store anymore. I only shop online, but I only grocery shop twice a month. So I do it every 2 weeks, which
Beautiful.
always blows people's minds. But that's a huge factor in like
Yeah.
planning, making sure you use up the food that you have, and spending way less because your grocery trips are more spaced out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. That one's a huge tip. Number two is like 45 tips in one, guys. Like this is huge.
It's all packaged up into one
Yeah.
tip.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then the third tip is kind of going beyond the savings because I really think that when it comes to financial freedom and being able to have the money that you want to have, sometimes we can only cut back so far. Restriction only gets us so far.
Yeah.
And we really need to have both in balance of being able to save money and to make money.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I talk to women who are like, I have budgeted everything I possibly can and we still can't cover the bills. If that is the case, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you need to go out and get a job because again, lots of resistance for me to do that. I did not want to do that. But
Yeah.
there are so many ways that you can bring in a couple 50, 100, 500,000 dollars every month by starting to do something from home where you are, I don't know, really simple things. And we go into like all the side hustle things inside my
Yeah.
community, but one of the
That's
things is
awesome.
like start selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, whatever extra stuff you have on hand, your kids grow out of clothes, sell it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
We just talked about this before the episode, but I had a whole episode with a girl who teaches people how to become VAs and working as a virtual assistant from home, where you could work a couple hours a week for a business owner or someone and just do menial tasks. So I just think there's this, we live in a world right now in 2025. It's such a beautiful thing that everything is online and there's
Yeah.
so much opportunity when it comes to being able to help your family financially. And that doesn't mean necessarily putting your kids in daycare and like going out and working a 9 to 5.
Yep.
There's so many other options than that. So sometimes that is a place that I have people go look, especially if they're feeling like they want to do something more. I
Yeah.
definitely think that that can help as well.
I loved that episode that you did with her. I'll link that too in the show notes here to go listen to that episode. But one of the things I loved she said is like, you don't have to be computer savvy to go be a virtual assistant. And I think sometimes when people are like, how do you have a full-time job and run a business and have kids? And I'm like, well, I have virtual assistants. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, oh, people don't really realize what a virtual assistant is or how that works. But I'm just like, it's just someone that helps me with all the stuff that's just like repetitive, like things that I don't need on my brain or be able to do. And I have two employees that go and do all that repetitive work for me behind the scenes. They're moms that want to stay home and work, and they make pretty good money just being able to do that at their own pace when they want to. And I just record it. Like I record it one time of me doing it. They go watch it. If you can watch something and replicate it, you can be a virtual assistant. Like
Yeah,
you don't need to know huge programs. That person that's going to hire you can teach you their specific program because there's so many out there. They can show you how to do it. They can have a recording. You can watch that recording on one screen, go do that thing 400 times for them a month, and they will be happy. You will be happy. You can make
totally.
significant money for your family.
Yeah, like for an example, I have a virtual assistant who, I have a membership, so people need to cancel their
Yeah.
memberships. And
Mhm.
all she does, literally all she does, is check my email once a day. And she does it in the evening. She like
Yeah.
after her kids go to bed, she goes on, she checks the email, she responds with a template that is a copy paste template into an email, and then she goes into our software and like clicks a button to cancel their membership.
Yep.
That's it. And she makes like $500 a month. No,
Yeah.
maybe a little less, like $400 a month. By literally, she probably works 15, 20 minutes a night. Like
Yeah.
so it's just this idea of like there's possibility out there.
Yeah.
You're not whatever's happened up to you to this point, it's not the end all be all. There's so many options for you as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I love what she said too, like go follow your favorite creators and reach out to them or
Yeah.
get on their email list and see when they're hiring. Like that, that people will put out like I'm hiring or I want to do this. Or I've heard your sister Amber talk about it too. Sometimes she's like, people just reached out to me and said, I want to help
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
hired them.
Yeah. One of the girls I have right now who's like my best employee, that's exactly what happened. She joined the membership and then she was like, "Wait, I love what you're doing. Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yes, please.
Yes.
Come help me."
Yes. Because sometimes you're so overwhelmed, you're like, I don't even have time to reach out and set up somebody, which we should do. But
Yeah,
like maybe some people are overwhelmed and they're like, yes, please help me. I would love to have you help me do this. And if you have a passion for what they're doing, they're going to love you in their business, right? Because when
totally.
people have a passion for what you're doing and love what you're doing, you'll work hard for them and you'll
Totally.
want it to be better and you'll want them to do significantly better and succeed. So
Right.
reach out to people, ask them
Right.
if you can help them.
And that podcast, I had Lauren. She actually, her business is helping people become virtual assistants, and she's super affordable. So, if you feel like a lot of resistance from it too,
Yeah.
and like, I just don't know if I can do this, you could go reach out to Lauren too. She's a great,
Yeah.
a great resource as well.
Yeah, I want to link that because she's awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah.
As she said, if you can check your email, you can be a virtual assistant.
If you live right now as a mother
Yeah,
who coordinates everything for their children all the time,
everything's online. Like
you
you're
can do
signing
this.
your kids up for school online. Like you can do this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
You can do this. This is so awesome, Rachel. I think these are amazing tips for women. If people want more, they want to. Your membership is super affordable. People
Yeah.
like pay it off significantly more in the first week, probably of
Yeah.
just doing this. Where can they find you? Where can they find out about your programs?
Yeah, so I'm on social media platforms at Hey Rachel Coons. And then we also have a podcast. It's called the Money Mom Podcast, if anybody wants to tune into that. I have a free training that you can go watch at any point that breaks down the method that I teach. So we can probably link
Yeah.
that up in the show notes.
Yes,
It's
let's do that.
heyrachelcoons.com/class is the
Perfect.
URL for that, and you can go register for that at any point. But yeah, come find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. Shoot me a message if you have any questions. I'm definitely here to help and want to help as many people as possible.
And she's very entertaining on Instagram. Like I'm always over there like, how can I do what she's doing? She's awesome.
We have fun with it. It's fun.
Yes, yes.
I was just talking to my business coach, and I was like, he was talking about people who run a business and have a hard time showing up on social media. And I was like, well, listen, I actually was on social media way before I had a business. So I actually feel like that is my area of expertise. Running the business is like the add-on to
Yeah.
this.
Right, right, right.
It's super
Yes.
fun for me. I really like it.
Yeah, yeah. Rachel does a lot of tips for you over just for free on her Instagram. So go follow her there. Definitely check out her free class. I think you'll find wonderful information there. So we appreciate it,
Awesome.
Rachel. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Nikki.
Thank you for listening to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. I hope you were able to find ways of healing, guidance, and peace. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend who would love to start thinking in a higher and holier way as well. Or hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Also, check out the links in my show notes for other episodes you might like and links for other mental health resources on my website.